6 days, 3 CEOs, and countless resignations later, Sam Altman is back in charge of one of the world's most powerful AI innovators. The employees are back too, and there's a completely new board of directors. The exact thing that caused this fissure within the company to rip wide open is still unknown. But we know a lot about what was bubbling, shifting below the surface. And we can start to piece together how and why the man famous for bringing ChatGPT to the world fell so far, but climbed back even higher. This all blows up when OpenAI's board fires its star CEO, Sam Altman, with no warning and a very vague explanation. Silicon Valley is shocked. Microsoft, its biggest investor, apparently got only a 1-minute heads up, and its stock, as a company that poured billions into OpenAI, starts to plummet. Day 2. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella is working behind the scenes, trying to get the OpenAI board to reinstate Altman. Altman himself even returns to the office, snapping a viral selfie of his guest pass. But those talks fail. The board stands firm. Altman's co-founder, Greg Brockman, resigns in solidarity. Day 3. OpenAI replaces Altman with the former CEO of Twitch, Emmett Shear. And Microsoft says, fine, we're taking Altman. He's installed as the head of Microsoft's brand new AI lab. And some top OpenAI talent say they are going with him. Day 4. The tide turns. More than 700 OpenAI employees, which is like 90% of them, threaten to quit if Altman isn't reinstated. And Ilya Sutskever, one of the board members who pushed Altman out, he changes his mind. He now regrets his involvement and says he never meant to hurt OpenAI. Day 5. Everyone hunkers down. Investors, board members, Altman himself. This is a catastrophe, and everyone is working on a plan to avoid a mass exodus and what could be the complete collapse of OpenAI. Day 6, not even a full week after this all started, Altman's triumphant return to OpenAI as CEO. There is a new board, and everyone that left with him comes back too.
The announcement coming overnight and capping off a week of chaos since he was removed from the company that he co-founded.
So if that's what the earthquake looked like on the surface, what was going on below ground? In almost every company, the board of directors and the executive leadership team are generally on the same page. They're at least working towards the same goal, making money. But from the very start, OpenAI had a very different vision. AI was thought to be such a world-changing piece of technology that OpenAI was founded as a nonprofit back in 2015. It was meant to be a counterweight to big private companies like Google or Amazon, with the goal of developing, quote, safe and beneficial AI, free from the pressures of share prices and the stock market, with development being, well, out in the open.
The goal of OpenAI from the very beginning has been to make sure that artificial general intelligence, by which we mean autonomous systems, AI that can actually do most of the jobs and activities and tasks that people do, benefits all of humanity.
One of the early co-founders, Elon Musk. But everything changed a few years later when Musk decided to leave, taking all of his money with him and leaving a $1 billion hole in OpenAI's grand plan. That was a big problem because the cost of this kind of computing is immense. Literally billions of dollars it takes to train artificial intelligence systems intended one day to rival the human mind. So Sam Altman hatches a plan to monetize OpenAI's work.
We learned early on that we were going to need far more capital than we were able to raise as a nonprofit.
Altman decides to create a new for-profit arm of the company to attract investment. You know, you attract investment by promising investors a payout. But he effectively bolts this new company onto the original nonprofit, which leaves a nonprofit board to oversee a for-profit tech company.
to make progress in AI for real, you need a lot of compute. And a nonprofit wouldn't be the way to get there.
So this is like a very strange, never before seen legal structure where you have a nonprofit that governs a for-profit, and then the for-profit operates exactly like a tech company. Like, it's raising capital, it's getting investors, it's hiring talent, and it's commercializing products.
Almost immediately, Microsoft takes interest, investing billions of dollars, which leads to this.
OpenAI, the San Francisco-based startup that created ChatGPT, opened the tool up for public testing in November 2022. In under a week, the AI model amassed over 1 million users, according to OpenAI's CEO.
And Sam Altman becomes one of the most prominent voices on the future of AI.
Sam Altman. He's the rock and roll star of artificial intelligence.
37 years old. Your company is the maker of ChatGPT, which has taken the world by storm.
This was a seismic shift for OpenAI, kind of like attaching a jetpack to a bumblebee. Microsoft's investment in OpenAI has since grown to more than $13 billion. It has a massive 49% stake in the company. But even with all of that heft, its basic goal of making money is still at odds with the non-profit-minded board, which oversees the whole operation and which ultimately retained the power to fire the head of the company.
It does seem like this episode has highlighted the difficulty of the existing governance structure working. And a lot of that also relates to this tension, which I think we're sort of seeing come to a head here in the idea of commercializing and profiting from AI, whilst also trying to make sure it's built safely and to benefit everybody.
The board never said what exactly Altman did to make them want to get rid of him, but it did release a statement saying their decision to fire Altman was, quote, necessary to preserve the board's ability to execute its responsibilities and advance the mission of this organization. Let's break that down. What are the board's responsibilities? Well, to make sure everyone follows the OpenAI charter. That's a set of guiding principles focused on safe and responsible AI development. Now, this charter is so embedded in the company's ethos that employee pay is actually tied to how well they adhere to it, which brings us to the second part of that statement, that Altman was getting in the way of the board's ability to advance the mission of this organization. That mission, according to the charter, to ensure that artificial general intelligence benefits all of humanity. Now, does this tell us explicitly what the exact problem was between Altman and the board? No. But every analyst we've spoken to has said you just cannot discount how balancing profit, progress, and safety might have been at least an aggravating factor here. Because we've been seeing those tensions flare up in real time.
Can you imagine if you have like autonomously reproducing AIs? I actually think that is a pretty dramatic and I would say quite a scary thing if you have an autonomously reproducing AI, if it's also very capable.
That's not some random AI doomsayer. That's Ilya Sutskever, OpenAI's chief scientist and one of the board members who helped oust Altman. He believes AI may soon pose a real threat to humanity and that the focus right now needs to be on getting ahead of that threat.
And you can start doing productive work today to build the science so that we will be able to handle the problem of controlling such future superintelligence, of imprinting onto them a strong desire to be nice and kind to people.
This is Helen Toner. She published a research paper praising a rival company to OpenAI for being more cautious with the release of its chatbot. By delaying the release of Claude until another company put out a similarly capable product, Anthropic was showing its willingness to avoid exactly the kind of frantic corner cutting that the release of ChatGPT appeared to spur. Helen Toner was also on the board of directors at OpenAI. And according to the New York Times, Altman was annoyed that she would undercut her own company. I did not feel we're on the same page on the damage of all this. Then, most recently, there was this exclusive bombshell from Reuters. According to their sources, just ahead of Altman's firing, several staff researchers reached out to the board to warn of a powerful artificial intelligence discovery that they said could threaten humanity. This was on top of broader concerns over commercializing advances before understanding the consequences.
There's a lot of confusion still. There's a lot of distrust now because employees don't know who among them might have been involved in the board's actions, who might have sent this letter, if the letter did indeed play into the decision. There's still more to be seen about this.
So what does this mean for Sam Altman and one of the foremost AI companies on the planet? It's worth mentioning, to many people, he's not seen as some kind of let-her-rip renegade. He's spoken at length about the need to be measured and cautious.
We think that regulatory intervention by governments will be critical to mitigate the risks of increasingly powerful models. But as this technology advances, we understand that people are anxious about how it could change the way we live. We are too.
And without trying to guess at whatever his real intentions may be, it is fair to say he's also quite optimistic about AI's potential to usher in a golden age for humanity.
This will be the greatest technology humanity has yet developed. We can all have an incredible educator in our pocket that's customized for us, that helps us learn, that helps us do what we want. We can have medical advice for everybody.
If Altman sort of represented the like extreme version of techno-optimism, you could argue that the board potentially represented the extreme end of like doomerism, that like technology could destroy humanity.
In the end, much of that board is now gone. Altman's biggest critics, poof. So, is it now full steam ahead?
They released an update to ChatGPT even while these negotiations and most of the company were threatening to quit. So they don't seem to be slowing down.
And beyond that, if there really is some breakthrough in artificial superintelligence on the horizon, as the reporting from Reuters suggests, it will be unfettered by the previous board, whose members' sole purpose was to keep developments like that in check.